And President Donald Trump has claimed that U.S. airstrikes have completely and totally obliterated Iran's main nuclear enrichment facilities and warned of more attacks to come if Tehran does not seek peace. In a televised address from the White House after the U.S. joined Israel's air campaign against Iran, Trump called the U.S. attacks a spectacular military success. Now let's hear into what he said.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Razencane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say, we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Well, that was the U.S. President Donald Trump. Now, to discuss more, we are now being joined by Dr. Avner Cohen, who's a professor of non-proliferation and terrorism studies at the Middlebury Institute. He's joining us on the broadcast from Ontario, California. Thank you so much, Dr. Cohen, for joining us on the broadcast.
Thank you.
And well, let's begin by talking about this whole address by Trump. We now see escalations have now doubled down in the Israel-Iran war. Now, with U.S. direct involvement, Iran has begun its retaliation. First of all, how do you assess this whole weather?
Well, it is clear that the U.S. response was to a degree reluctant. The president has been hesitating for a long, long time. His gut instinct was for quite a while not to be dragged into wars in the Middle East. We know his views about previous wars in the Middle East. So that's one thing. According to that, he wanted to leave the impression that what we saw just hours ago, this U.S. attack on the 3 facilities, could be only one action. In other words, one single attack, and he's ready to negotiate. He's ready to move to another phase, to a non-kinetic phase. So a great deal depends on Iran. What we have seen, the Iranian attacks on Israel, is very, very much expected. The real question is to what degree Iran would or would not expand its attack also to the United States. As you know, the U.S. has roughly 40,000 soldiers in and around the Middle East, in Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Israel, elsewhere, and we are all waiting anxiously. We also understand that the Iranian regime instinct is to say we are not surrendering. So it is a great challenge to diplomacy, whether it will be third parties who will try to do something. I would have hoped that somehow a third party would have encouraged the sides to have some kind of interim pause in order to reach some basis for discussion. We are not there yet. We are far from there. It's not even clear if there is some discussion in that direction, but the situation right now is very much in uncharted territory.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned the U.S. was reluctant to actually go and get involved in this. Now, Trump had given a 2 weeks window to Iran where some talks could have been possible, perhaps. On the other hand, UK, France, Germany were also in talks. They had a talk with Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. I wonder, did the U.S. actually blow up its chance of talking because they had actually given 2 weeks to consider the talks?
Well, they gave 2 weeks, but obviously they started after about 3 days or so. So those 2 weeks were not capped. The Israelis were alarmed by the 2 weeks. They said they are about to try on their own. They say 2 weeks, and indeed, I think that 2 weeks was never seriously thought. It was Trump saying, "I don't want to have too much pressure on me. Let's have a little time for me. I'm taking 2 weeks." 2 weeks is a long time when we have already escalation of 9 days of war, intensive war. The Israelis were spreading that they're going to do things on their own. 2 weeks allow very slow effort towards what happened in Europe at the level of the foreign minister, European, and the Iranians did not go much. I'm also very much concerned that Iran would possibly even very soon leave or depart from the non-proliferation treaty, being attacked. The claim that it was a violation of the UN Charter, the non-proliferation treaty itself. So we are moving to and we need a third party to try at least to hold things and to try to create some basis to start negotiations. We don't have any negotiation, and I think both sides want negotiation. The problem is that the Iranians are even more humiliated, more damaged, and it's difficult for them to agree. I think Trump and even Israel would love to have some kind of effort to reach a deal that certain achievements that were already achieved about the Iranian program, dismantling it, will remain. It's difficult to accept that, and so we'll see.
All right. And talking about Israel, they didn't really look like they actually wanted to come on the table because they were really anxious on trying to fulfill their goals. That being said, no.
Well, Netanyahu said just after the American attack that he would be willing to have, at this point, after the American attack, to have some kind of talk of ceasefire. But it's a very complex, and there is no much skills in the area for achieving that thing. There is no brokers around, and it is a failure of diplomacy.
Absolutely. Now, Trump says that there are many targets left, and but if peace doesn't come quickly, we will go to these other targets with precision. Now, with Iranian retaliation that we see right now, do you expect another U.S. strike?
It very much depends on the Iranian response. As of now, it very much depends whether Iranian response would move into straight American targets in the area or outside the area. If Iran would continue the attack on Israel, I don't think it affects that much the United States calculations. I think there is a general interest to try to scale down what's going on. It also depends what's the level of the damage. It was the U.S. who has the capacity to inflict a great deal of damage, but we do not know. Has the major enrichment facility underground, deep underground in Fordow destroyed, damaged? How badly it was damaged? The Iranian claims it was not seriously damaged, so we don't really know. It was, as you know, it was Fordow as well as two other facilities. One is Isfahan and also Natanz, targets that Israel already had hit a number of times. So my very intuitive rough view is that the Iranian nuclear program has suffered badly, and it's not a matter of, definitely not weeks, and most likely not a matter of months, but possibly more than a year, could be a year or two of just to prepare the damage that was made, maybe even more. And this is just speculative.
Absolutely. On that point, now what Iran said, what they were already anticipating such attack. We have been discussing this all over for days now since the escalation did go up. That will U.S. participate, and it's probably given that Iran was somehow they were anticipating it and they were prepared for it, and they got the evacuations done before the attack. And so that being done, do you think they could have also been prepared for these U.S. strikes and probably retaliation that's going to come?
Possibly. Two things about what you said. What you said is very, very important. We're talking about evacuations of fissile materials, high enriched uranium at the level of 60%. Some of it apparently was in Fordow and was in Isfahan. The Iranian make it clear that it was taken out. We have no idea where it was taken out to. Iraq has a large amount of material. Some people talk about 400 kilograms. People talk about 275 kilograms of 60% enrichment. Depends what kind of capacity Iraq was still left to enrich. We do not know. But if you have some capacity to go further from 60% to 90%, if you have the capacity, it could be a matter of days. That means that Iran could be in a position, if those capacities survive, to move towards some rudimentary nuclear devices within weeks. That's the worst case scenario. So the question is, what happened to the remaining materials, the 60% level, and of course the damage to those enrichment facilities in Natanz, in Fordow, and some smaller one in Isfahan.
All right. Well, Iranians still, they do look adamant. We've seen some critics and experts say that from Iran that the red line has been crossed. And it does not look like they want to do anything with peace talks as of now. And that being said, what options, according to you, do Iranians actually have now, with some experts also saying that they are having a depleting arsenal?
I'm very concerned. I think that it's not clear to me how much capacity Iran, military capacity, missiles, has to respond. I mean, what Iran attacked Israel just in the last half an hour or so, it was about, from what I heard, it was about 25 missiles in 2 waves. In other words, Iran before the war had a capacity to inflict damage of hundreds of missiles in a short time, in about half an hour. So they have much less capacity. They have lost a great deal of launchers. Some people say about half of their launchers were gone. We talk about hundreds, 200s, or even more. So what my concern is that we are moving into ongoing attrition war. Every day or two, some launching of missiles from Iran. Iran has the patience. Iran has been damaged. Israel, of course, has the advantage in terms of its ability to essentially to have a full control over Iranian sky. But in terms of attrition, in terms of effort, it's Israel is a small country, 10 million people. The Israeli IDF and the Israeli Air Force also have limited sources. And the question is, the time factor is playing. And I think both sides have interest to scale down. But given what happened, and given especially the humiliation and the damage to Iran, it's given for them to accept what they view, what they are realizing would be terms of surrender. So how to bring it to an end, it's a very big issue, and that's the challenge for diplomacy, and I do not see it right now. We'll see.
Right. Also, since we are talking about the escalation, Hamas has condemned the U.S. strike. The group said that Trump administration and Israel are fully responsible for the grave repercussions of the aggression. Let's say if this actually does escalate right after U.S. Involvement, what actors do you think can have the potential to be dragged from the region, West Asia region, to this war?
Well, it is a war within a war. I mean, after October 7th, Israel already, almost 2 years, a war with Hamas. There was a war with Hezbollah. Hezbollah, was defeated significantly, but there is still remaining elements that Hezbollah still has. So far, Hezbollah in Lebanon has been cautiously refraining to join. There is pressure on Hezbollah to join with the little remaining that they have. It will be could be further damage to Lebanon. Hamas is, of course, very much defeated, but they have some 50-something Israeli remaining in Gaza, 20, possibly even more of them alive. So those very serious issues were put aside. There are families of those Israelis who are the hostages. I'm sure that their situation is terrible right now. Hamas has no much military power right now to respond in a serious way. And as you may know, there are 4 Israeli divisions already in Gaza. So Israel is involved in the fight under Netanyahu in so many frontiers in Gaza, 4 divisions concerning about Judea and Samaria, concerning about Lebanon, and of course the ongoing war in Iran, nearly 2,000 kilometers away, and the Houthis. That's unbelievable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That you broke down very well how this escalation is not just Israel, Iran, and especially with the U.S. now. It's even U.S. targets are on the line. When we see reactions coming
Globally.
in from U.S. exactly, U.S. I mean, even citizens from the U.S., even local citizens, for example, Los Angeles, they're also worried about this. Our correspondent Susan Tenan just told us that they got alerts on their phones about, in New York. It's crazy how this has all escalated. That being said, on the home front in the U.S., many are criticizing Trump. Some are calling for impeachment. Even local Americans, as we saw, are scared.
Well, that's a very extreme.
Exactly. Do you think Trump will actually go for further strikes, as he has declared in his briefing?
His instinct is not to. His instinct is to leave this, indeed, if the damage was sufficient, as a one single way to essentially terminate or to leave the Iranian nuclear program with a great deal of damage and to leave it. From him is even to leave the 2 smaller proxy, Iran and Israel, to continue to fight on their own, and within short time, to find a way to scale it down. But it very much depends what's the Iranian response on the U.S. itself. And as you said, it's not only in the region. It's not only Abu Dhabi and Qatar and Bahrain or Saudi Arabia. It could be elsewhere. It could be Europe, could be global terrorism. As you know, Iran was involved years ago, but it was involved in various acts of terrorism directly and by proxies. So it's a very complex situation. There are many, many players. The supreme leader in Iran, 87 years of age, Khamenei, he already designated 3 possible clergy in case of his own demise. We are moving to regional and possibly global escalation to the extent we don't know. And of course, there is concern of Russia, and the war in Ukraine is going on as well. So a very, very complex world.
And that being said, I know it's somehow we have to see how the retaliation comes and what kind of damage we see on nuclear sites. But do you think at this point of time, when Israel has also said that we now do want to go for diplomacy, Trump has said that, the doors are open, let's come on the table or else we're going to strike you. So is there any possibility that Iranians would actually look forward and think about a potential to come on the table for diplomatic talks? Any possibility?
I don't know. I'm afraid that right now their instinct is to defy. Iran was attacked. They said that if Iran would attack, they would take certain kind of actions. I do expect, and again, it's my own assessment, I do expect that they would make some announcement on the diplomatic level. Possibly even they would accelerate some kind of legislation in the Iranian parliament to make Iran withdraw from the non-proliferation treaty, from the NPT. I think it's likely, even very likely.